It's gone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the fourth and fifth period. Sorry that I cannot be here with you today. I wish you a very safe and fun Halloween weekend, and hopefully you have some type of festivity that you can do with your family and or close circle of friends. But make sure you stay safe, wear a mask, and stay 6 feet apart of people that you don't know and trust to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. I want to come back to school and see you. All right, so what I'm going to talk to you right now about is just your post for Google Classroom. And what you'll see here is the, where'd it go? Oh, I have it on fifth period right now. Sorry, I apologize. I haven't sent it out yet. But right there, you will see something that says kinetic versus potential energy. It will not be gray. This is because it's a draft right now. I have not finished it. But for the main idea is no, I'm not taking an early Halloween weekend. I have a last minute medical appointment that I will need to attend, and I didn't know about until yesterday afternoon. You will be asynchronous today, which means obviously you already know that. And you'll be watching this video, and I would like for you to impress me with your independent work ethic today, right? So don't just go and be like, not doing anything, right? Because Mr. Ogle wasn't there. You are still required to do work, and you are still required to watch the video that I have made for you here. So watch this video of the kinetic and potential energy of Google Slides. Take notes in your notebook. After you completed your notes, begin working on the kinetic versus potential energy practice. Submit the practice pages to Google Classroom today. This means I have given sufficient time during our outline science instruction time to complete notes and the assignments. A 25% deduction for the assignments not turned in by the end of today, Friday, October 30th, will be initiated. Okay, so if you don't finish this assignment today, unfortunately, you have to have a 25% deduction on the assignment because this is about 35-minute video, and you have 75 minutes of class. That means that you have 40 minutes of class to complete this assignment. Okay. Now, if you don't watch the video, you're missing out because it's all about what you need to know, and it's the base for our entire unit. Okay, so please watch this video. Thank you. Yeah, it does have that. All right, but I did figure it out. So here we go. So you're going to have your notebooks, and you're going to title it Kinetic and Potential Energy. And instead of 1029, you're going to put 1030, right? Because 1030 is the date today for you guys, and we will get ourselves going. So, yes. Oh, you can't see anything. Maybe that's why it's able to be able to. What about now? Can you see anything now? Perfect. All right. So kinetic and potential energy, 10-30, right? Because that was for yesterday. Sorry, I didn't change it. If you want to go back to the CK12 that we did and just have that reading as a resource, the website's right there for you. So just as a resource to go back to watch that video as well as see the reading that we did last week or earlier this week. All right, and so children are often said to have lots of energy, right? But the idea of them having lots of energy is kind of a something to think about because we get our energy from what we eat, right? And these children, right? Although adults can be very active as well. You often have been told you have too much energy, or somebody had too much sugar, right? And we want to think about that as we're going through. We're going to get to a little bit of where energy comes from in the human body as well as other objects. But looking at this, there's lots of ways and places where energy comes from. Food, batteries, the sun, right? As well as nuclear plants. But do we really know what energy is what we're going to think about today. Now, this diagram right here is something I've been telling everybody that would be a great resource to have printed out and glued into your binder because it covers multiple, almost all forms of energy. It definitely covers the biggest ones and kind of places them where they belong with potential and kinetic energy. So we have thermal, mechanical, electrical, and magnetic under kinetic energy. Now, kinetic energy, again, is the energy of basically movement. And we look over here at potential energy, which is basically, I'm saying basically because it's in its most basic kind of definition of stored energy. So energy that has yet to be used. And we have chemical, elastic, nuclear, and gravitational as potential energy. And then in the middle, something that can be identified as kinetic and or potential, sound and light energy. And then it gives a little blurb about just a quick little where it comes from and what it's about. But this definition right here, if you haven't already started writing it down, it would be a good time to do that now. I'll give you some time. Energy is defined as the ability to do work. You often think of work as like I go outside and maybe have to mow the lawn, or take out the trash, or wash mom and dad's car, or clean the garage, or whatever chores you have as a 8th grade student. But as far as energy, it means using force to move an object over distance. When work is done, energy is transferred from one object to another, right? You want to dig a hole, right? Your energy of your muscles is transferred to the shovel, right? Which is then transferred to the dirt, right? And you're able to scoop it up and move it out of the way. All right. Again, as always, if I go too fast, you always have options to go back. Just put a little asterisk on there and say go back to Google Slides or something to make sure that you go back to it and get it down. But again, if you want to print this out and have this in your notebook, I believe it's a great resource. Hint, hint, wink, wink. All right, so looking at this right here, most forms of energy can be classified as either kinetic or potential energy. I just had a good idea. I was like, so the people think that I know that I'm talking to you. I put you in the background, right? So I'll be right there. Let's just get it out of the way. All right, and so right here we have kind of a pictorial, right, of what we saw on the previous slide. And the idea that has chemical, elastic, nuclear, right? We go over here for potential, and it has chemical, elastic, nuclear, electrical. And it put gravitational here and sound here, right? It just kind of shows a side. So if you're like, what, huh? That's not right. It can be used as both, right? We have energy being stored for when high energy usage comes on. Or times come on, like when it's really hot and people start turning on their air conditioners, but everyone does it at once, and so all the energy is being sucked from the storage. And what they want, why they turn off your power at those times, they don't want to run out of energy for the essentials. So for essential things like hospitals, right? They don't want the power to go out because there isn't any more energy made and stored for them to use, and so they turn off our power, right? Did anybody get their power turned off the other day when they had the outages? No? No? Okay. I know that some parts of San Mateo County were getting turned off, but that's why they do that, right? Because their storage of energy available they project it to be like a level higher than what they have, right? Doggy wants to say hi. Are you hungry? All right, kinetic energy. Here's another definition that you want to. Ow! Right on my toe with my. What? You want to say hi? Come here. Come here. Is it high? Oh, is it high? All right. So, energy of moving matter. Anything that is moving has kinetic energy. I know. Energy of motion that is released from stored energy. And then volunteer to go ahead and read each one of those examples for us, starting with the arrow release. Just come on the mic. All right, perfect. Thank you so much. So the idea here, you pull that bow back, right? You're like, and then you have potential energy, right? And unless you release that bow, right, the string, right? You release the string, that bow will then, that elastic energy that you've created with that string will shoot that arrow forward, right? And the potential energy from the elastic energy of the bow is then transferred to the arrow as kinetic energy. And then that arrow has kinetic energy until it, obviously hits something or the kinetic energy runs out. Excuse me. All of us have probably either run down a hill, rode down a hill on a bike, scooter, skateboard of some sort at one point, and you know that once you get started, right, you're at, your potential energy is then transferred into kinetic, and as you go down the hill, you gain greater kinetic energy, right, because all that potential energy is being used. And then right at the bottom, your kinetic energy your potential energy is basically zero, because you've used it all, and then you just go on your bike ride, and you're like, whee, you're on your like feet up, not having to pedal, right? I used to do that all the time, put the feet on the steering wheel, and then you like you would steer with your feet. I can't do it now, I'm not that flexible, but and you'd steer your handlebars with your feet on the steering wheel. Anybody ever done that before? No? Okay, I didn't give you any bad ideas, don't do it. All right, muscles moving, right? We have the idea that if the muscles are using stored energy / fats, right? So carbohydrates to move your muscles, and then the car moving, right, is using a fuel that has the potential energy and is firing and moving. All right, this website right here is something that you can go to if you choose to do so. It's basically looking at the states of matter, and then when we heat things up versus cool things down, right? We have argon, oxygen, and water. Water is probably the most prevalent, right? Water molecules are always having some type of a movement because, well, that's getting into way more chemistry, so I won't get into that. But if we heat water molecules up, it's probably the one that you probably know the most, right? We can kind of see what they're doing versus cooling them down, right? And we see the temperatures up there, top of the thermometer, go, and we see how they are going to slow down. And when we finally get to really, really cold, they are, they shouldn't move very much. But all right. But you can play around with that. You can look at it as a liquid. You can look at it as a gas. That's water vapor, right? I don't know why my dog is crying, but she's crying. All right. So that's a website that you can go to and just kind of play around with and have some fun with. All right. Volunteer to read this out loud for me, the first paragraph, and we'll have somebody do the second one. All right, and volunteer for the second paragraph. She has, it's called potential energy. Potential energy is energy that is stored in an object. Often, the object has potential energy because of the position or shape. We lost Stefan. All right, so we're looking at this right here, and we're seeing that potential energy is energy that is stored in an object. And this is probably the best example that you probably have experienced in your life, right? Most of us have blown up a balloon at some point, right? And we look at this and we say, okay, well, what is the actual energy? Well, the energy here is the elastic energy that is in the rubber of the balloon. So as the rubber of the balloon is stretched, right, through your air, right, you're putting air molecules into there and filling it up with a volume of air, your potential energy is gained, right? So you've taken energy from your body, right, and put it in, transferred it into the balloon, right? Because energy isn't created, not created nor destroyed, right? And then we're looking at this idea of when we let go and go, brrr, right? And the balloon's going all over the place, and you're like, whee, yay, right? And the air pushes out, and the elastic of the balloon creates the kinetic energy of movement, right, by pushing that air outwards. So energy can be classified as either kinetic energy or potential, right? So that's the main idea today, that we're looking at both. Tony, you have a comment? No? Okay. All right. Here we have gravitational potential energy, the GPE. Yeah, you know me. No? Little song. Depends on the object's weight and its height above the ground, right? Now, when we're looking at this slide, how we decipher it, right? We see this young lady, right? And she is swinging. And right here we see that her height above the ground, maybe, let's say 1 meter, right? And we'll say this is 2 meters. 1 meter, 2 meters. At this point, right here, she is going to have a greater gravitational potential energy than when she is here. Why? Think about it. If she weighs 60 kilograms, right, and we have a height of 1 meter off the ground, right, well, the gravitational potential energy, right, is 60. Right here, if it's 2 meters off the ground, her gravitational potential energy is 120, right? 60 times 2 versus 60 times 1. So the height has a huge factor of determining the gravitational potential energy of an object because of the multiplying by a higher number, right? It's going to give you a larger outcome. Looking at this hill, we have potential energy, right? And the idea is that the potential energy, although kinetic energy would have been used, to get to the top of this hill, right? They've had to use the gas in the vehicle to get to the top of the hill, and it would have to use kinetic energy. When it goes up, right, the heights of an object, so when you go up to the top of a hill on your bike, you're gaining potential energy, because what has to happen? Well, you have to come down, right? And so when you finally come down the hill, all that potential energy that you've gained by climbing up that hill is going to raise the potential energy that you are able to then spend, right, going down, right? And then when you roll down that hill, your kinetic energy will be the potential energy will be then turned into kinetic energy of movement, right? So we can look at this diagram as energy in, right? We're gaining, and then we go down the hill, out, right? One of my most fun childhood memories was pretty much bombing a hill on the mountain bikes, and I don't know why I never got into mountain biking, but I definitely have this memory of we were camping, and we like pushed our bikes up this hill, right? And we're like, oh, we're gonna do it, right? My brother and I both crashed, by the way, so that's another story, another time. And lots of cuts and bruises, but it's still a fun memory of the moment when we were flying down the hill at incredible speeds, albeit with probably not a helmet on, being that helmets weren't really a thing when we were children. So wear your helmets. I'm surprised I made it to this point, right? My head got knocked around with all the crazy adventures that I did as a child. All right, we're looking at another example. We would say that skier blue over here, although the same mass, right, same weight, would have a higher gravitational or a greater gravitational potential energy because this person's just a little bit higher than the red skier here, right? And so they would have more of a, they would have more potential energy to spend, to say, right? And therefore they would get going faster because they would have more potential energy to turn into kinetic energy. Make sense? All right, and then down here, the green skier has more gravitational potential energy because he weighs more, right? And so they're at the same height, right? But since the weight, or sorry, I should say the same height right here, not that's vertical, right? So they're at the same height, but skier red is greater mass, or sorry, lesser mass than skier green, and you can actually kind of see it. Skier green is like a little plump over here, like a big old green apple. And they would roll down the hill, and since their mass is greater, they would go faster, right? Because they would have more potential energy to spend into kinetic energy. Any questions on that? On the gravitational potential energy? Yeah, so height would be we do meters and kilograms for weight. You could use centimeters. Yeah, I mean any type of metric unit. For the you wouldn't want to use a fraction of any sort. Is that what you're asking? Okay, yeah. So pretty much when we're doing all this work, so some of you I commented, I'm not sure if it was this class or another class. We were doing the assignment on momentum, and I saw that people were putting it into fractions. We're going to kind of just keep it any type of physics work to decimals, and then round to the nearest hundredths place value. Is it wrong? No. Did I mark you incorrect on it? No. I was just kind of confused, I guess, at the use of the fraction. But just something to think about. Kind of standard format, right? We have some standard formats in math, and so same here in science. All right, just another kind of pictorial here for you to look at. We see the potential energy, and it's grounded, right? So it's connected, right? And so its potential energy is not moving. It's ready to be used, right? And then the kinetic energy over here, right? We see the rocket blasting off, and it's moving, per se, right, on a screen. And so it's associated with its mass and speed versus potential mass and position. If you want to write those down really fast, it'd be probably something to get into your notebook just to have available for you. I'll give you a second. I think I just realized what my dog wants. So the front patio is always sunny about this time. I usually have the door open, and she goes out and she lays on the patio couch. And I think that's what she wanted. All right. Again, if you didn't get that all down, you're welcome to come back to the slide or have it open. You can have it open next to you right now, too. All right, now this is the slide that's going to really support us with our homework, our assignment that we have after. And I've kind of designed this last couple days to kind of be very easy because I knew it was going to be a Halloween weekend. I don't want you to have any homework, right? So I want you to get it all done in class and to not have to worry about anything over this weekend, regardless if there's any festivities going on or not. I know that a lot of things have been canceled, but now this slide kind of will kind of show us everything we need to know to complete our assignment in a moment. And it's the idea of when does something have more, less, none, all kinetic or potential energy. And we use this idea of a ball rolling down the hill. Now, if we roll down the hill, all of our potential energy would not be lost. Why? Because we eat food and we have storage, right? And the idea of all of our potential energy being lost as a human means that you didn't put anything in your body as far as sustenance for a very long time, right? Because your body's going to start breaking down any cells and it can to use as energy. And that's why if you're not eating, you get weak, or you haven't eaten for the day, you feel kind of lightheaded and that like weird feeling. It's because your body has been using all of your stored potential energy and now it has to go into the reserves. And so it says, hey, body, start slowing down, right? And it does that to make you feel that way so you stop movement. It literally does it so you say, no more movement, you've done enough, go get some food, right? So a ball at the top of the hill has potential energy but no kinetic, right? The ball, think of like you brought that ball to the top of the hill and you set it there. Now as you went up that hill, it gained potential energy because you brought it at a higher height, right? Remember, gravitational potential energy has height and weight, mass, right? So a ball at the top has all potential, no kinetic. Now, as soon as that ball starts rolling down, it's using some of that potential energy and it's turning it into kinetic. So right here, it has both, right? We would say it's about 50%. If we really measured it out, it looks about, it's used about 60, but we'll see. Maybe 55. This ball right here has potential energy to be used as kinetic, but it also has kinetic energy because it is rolling. It has movement. So that ball continues to roll down this hill. Right here, it'd probably have, 80% kinetic, 20% potential. Here, 10% potential, 90% kinetic. And then right here, the ball has reached the bottom. All the potential energy has been used because all of the height has been used, right? Is the ball still rolling? It sure is, right? If you rolled your bike down this hill, would you keep going? You sure would, but all the potential energy that you gained by pushing it up to the top of this hill now has been used by the bottom of the hill. Hope that makes sense, right? And so this ball would have no potential, but all kinetic. And as soon as the ball stops, right, it should maybe say the ball stops right here, S-T-O-P. Yeah, you know me. A ball at the bottom of the hill will not roll, that is not rolling, has neither potential nor kinetic. Okay. Now, if there was another hill here and it started going back up, what would it be gaining? So something started... Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Yeah, it's gaining potential. So, right? So you're going to see on your homework assignment I'm going to show you right now, you have a hill like this and it goes back up. And so as it goes back up, it's gaining potential energy because it's going to begin, it's gaining height, right? All right, so that is the last of that one. So if we go to our Google Classroom, and I don't want to mess this up, so I'm not going to change screens. Try to find what I already had up here. There are the slides right there for you if you want to get back to them. And then Scope 3, Kinetic and Potential Energy, our new section. Need to put completed on that one. Probably Megan. All right. So here's the assignment. And right here, we're going to have to say the graph shows a ball rolling from A to G, right? So it starts here, goes down, and stops there. Well, depending on the stops or not. So we had which letter shows the ball when it has a maximum kinetic energy, right? And if we're looking at this slide right here, where did it have maximum kinetic energy? Here, here, here. Yeah, right here, third ball, right? All potential is gone, and that means that it's used all the potential. So once it's used all the potential, it has the maximum kinetic, right? So what ball would we say on this chart would have the maximum kinetic energy? D, yes. So you put a D right there. All right, let's go down to number number 7. Which letter shows the ball when it has just a little less potential energy than letter F? Right, just a little bit less potential energy than letter F. And there's some grid lines on there for you to kind of judge. What would you say? Anybody, everybody. Just a little bit less potential energy than F. I would agree with you that E definitely has less potential energy, but is there a ball that we might have that might... What do you... Nope. Nope. Definitely a C. Yes. So you have the grid line right here. And so the ball would be coming down, right? And the letter C would have a little bit less than F. E definitely, Stefan, has less potential energy than F, but C has... C is in the middle of those two. Although it is coming down the hill versus being pushed up, it's still, it's kind of like a balance, right? So when you're, coming up and down the hill, and that's how you solve those for those ones. Okay. Now looking down here, you have some things that sequence, and they're just going to ask you some questions. I think 11 was a little tricky, but I think 12, 13, 14 were pretty straightforward. So I'll let you kind of go through there. Just as sequence, does C, D, E, F, right? C, D, E, F, would that show an increase in potential energy, right? C, D, E, F, going from here to here. So you can kind of look at those. And then part 2, here's the big kicker on part 2. If you determine that whatever it's talking about is moving, what type of energy is it? Yeah. And if you determine that that is not moving, right, based off of what you read, right, like number 2, the baby carriage is sitting at the top of the hill that is 21 meters high. The carriage with the baby weighs 12 newtons. The carriage has blank energy. What type of energy would that be? Potential, right? Because it's not moving. It's sitting there. It's resting at the top. So if you determine that the scenario is a movement, it's kinetic. If you determine that it is not moving, it's potential. Okay? And that's all you have today. And when you get to your assignments, I did put slide 12 here for easy access for you right there on the assignment, so you can access it and just kind of have it there for yourself. And then the turn-in feature, obviously, if you can put it into the Google Documents, I have determined it's actually, if you put it as a PDF, it hasn't been a big issue for me to look at. They come on really fast, and they don't. Yeah, so if you want to do the PDF scan version, I'm all for it. It actually has not been an issue for me to load them this year. I think some bigger servers have been designated to be Google Classroom servers. Someone's mic on, so you're going to turn that off for me, please. All right, so I'm going to put you into breakout rooms at this point, and you can work with a partner pair. And I'm going to say something for the 4th and 5th period. You're welcome to work with a partner if you want to get on a Zoom call yourself and or work by yourself. But the object for 4th and 5th period is to turn it in today, right? So don't give yourself weekend homework. I'm going to be checking later today when I get back from my appointment, and to make sure that you get that done. All right, any questions to my 3rd period? Yeah, I'll try to put some people into breakout rooms. Let me stop this video for. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the 4th and 5th period. Sorry that I cannot be here with you today. I wish you a very